What's good, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Appreciate the viewers for tuning in. I'll be trying to drop as much content as I possibly can. I won't say it'll be daily or Monday, Wednesday, Friday type thing. I'll just be dropping as much as I possibly can. And as the channel eventually grows, I'll allow you guys to decide what makes sense and what days work best. But for now, I'm just trying to figure it out. But a big topic that I wanted to talk about today, and I think it's heavily important for all of us to focus on, because especially if you're in the beginning stages of life or chapters, or if you're in the middle aspect or closer to the end, I think applying these strategies to your day-to-day could only improve the direction that you're going in, or help get you to the destination that you want to get to. And destination is a perfect example of what we'll be talking about. And pretty much it's just GPS. Life is a human GPS. You have a destination and you have a starting point. You know where the starting point is. You have an idea where the finish line is. You have an idea. You have a thought on how you get there, but you don't know 100% if you can get to the destination from the starting point. So it's important to take yourself to the finish line first, mentally. Your imagination, your vision should be unlimited. You should allow yourself to think any and everything that you want to achieve, because that's the only place you can do it. So why limit yourself? Everything starts with the mind, and where you take your And wherever you take your mind is where you'll end up going. If you have a stagnant mindset, you'll only be in the same place that you are today. If you have a growth mindset, you'll push forward and you'll grow. But back to the destination aspect. I like to use the analogy of chess. If you watched the video that I dropped yesterday, I brought up chess. And if you think of chess, it's a game of life as well. You have a team of individuals, and whichever team strategizes correctly on strategic and not tactical planning wins. Long term always beats short term. Short term tactical can be effective, but only in certain situations, and you have to understand that. So taking yourself to the destination, why is that important? Why is putting that queen in a certain position on the chessboard to check the king in your brain, why is that important? Because you know exactly where you need to be, and you know exactly where your opponent or whatever else needs to be in order to get there. Now, mentally, you work backwards. I'll throw another analogy out there to help people that are career driven. If you want to be in a certain entrepreneur role, you have to study the right people. You have to see what they've been through. The best place to start is LinkedIn, especially if you're in a career. If you have a CIO, if you have a director of IT, if you have someone that's a high executive in a company that you aspire to be one day, pull up 10 people with that same background that's actually in that position. 10 people. Go to the LinkedIn, see where they're at, work backwards to where you're at from their experience. That's what I mean. So look at their experience of where they're at now, and where they started if you're at the starting point, or where they were year 5, or where they were year 6. And now, or you just take the position that you're in now compared to when they were in that position. It's a blueprint. That's what I was talking about yesterday. Success is duplicated. Someone has already done it. Why recreate it? Why try to figure it out when it's already there? Now you have time to put it in other areas to be able to be more effective. And I think that will help people think more strategic. Let's get back to the topic of a GPS. Through GPSs, and I'll talk about my example. What I went through when I was in college, and really my life, and how I used the GPS to get to how I understood the destination, how I had multiple routes to get there, because on a GPS you'll have multiple routes to get there. One might be faster than the other one, but one might be less red lights than the other one, or less lights, excuse me. So you might have a quicker drive, or if you don't like being stuck at the light, you might rather go the longer route due to the fact. Depends on what you prefer. So for me, my GPS, I knew that there were 3 things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a businessman, entrepreneur. I wanted to be a high-level entrepreneur, meaning a high-level C-suite underneath an entrepreneur that owned a business, or go to the NFL, be a professional athlete. 3, I found 10 people in each area, and I worked backwards, and I effectively chose which route, or if this didn't work, how I would, make the next step. Because that's important. You have to always be able to redirect, adapt, figure out what's next. Never get too attached to something. I played football in college, and one thing I've seen with my peers is that they loved football, and that's not a problem. You have to love a sport. You have to love something in order to be great. I'm not saying you don't love it. I'm saying don't get too attached. The reason why not? Why shouldn't you get attached? Because when you get attached to something, when it's time to let it go, I'm gonna say that one more time. When it's time to let it go, you don't. Or you won't. Or you'll spend too much extra time when you should have given it up years ago because you were attached. I played Division I Big Ten football. When the rubber met the road at the end of the street, I decided to transition because I wasn't emotionally attached. Now, let's have some understanding there. For me, I dealt with a lot of outside factors: coaching, injuries, school. So my situation when it came to the end of the road, I was real with saying, yes, I know I can play with these guys. I know I can be at this level. I know I can perform. But I have this person that could potentially say this. I had this injury this year. I dealt with this outside factor this year. So this is stuff that the people that are going to evaluate me to go to that level, they're going to collect all this information, because that is, you're at the top of the top. You're at the 1%. They have to evaluate everything. They have to make sure that you are an investment. Everything is an investment. They're not going to pay you money for no reason. If they do, they're going to get rid of you, and you're never going to get paid from them again, which means you no longer hold value. And that's why I was talking yesterday about value being a byproduct of money. Did I say that right? I think I said that right. Money being a byproduct of value. Value comes first. So I understood my value, and I understood the outside factors. Weighed the pros and cons. It was easy for me to say, let's start my experience in a career. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, because if you had a start where you're trying to figure where you want to end up at, I say, find a career path that can get you to a position that you can take care of all your responsibilities, so that you can be able to one day get to that position. Because when I chose my career, my thought was, if football doesn't work, and if I'm not a highly successful entrepreneur, I still have something to go back to, that I have extreme value, that I can take care of my family with however I please. So it's just a plan, and we talk about inside of a plan. And all of this stuff is it's literally like it's a piece of the puzzle. You have to connect everything. If you don't connect everything, it won't work. Let's transition that analogy to an Uber ride, because I think that's what's important for us to understand. And I'll give you an analogy of my life on how you can incorporate it into yours. I started off in a impoverished environment. Got a great opportunity at the age of 14 to go to a great high school. Great academics, decent sports, no championships, but consistent. Winning every year, getting to the playoffs, going far in the playoffs. I knew school, sports were my two things. I also had an opportunity to go to a private school. Private school is a great school, it's an all-boys school. They actually offered me a 50% scholarship, but that was still about $400 a month. My parents couldn't afford that. Not with trying to make sure I had clothes, make sure I ate, make sure I did all the things that I needed to do, make sure I was at all these activities, make sure I was meeting with tutors and doing different things to get smarter and get better. I knew that was taking me away from that, even though I went to a great school. So mentally, what I decided, I said, I'm gonna go to this great public school that's just as good as this private school. No, it doesn't have as many football championships, but it's in a similar environment as far as opportunity. The academics are at the top of the level. I think the public school actually had higher academics than the private. So in that, I allowed my younger sister to be able to go to the school as well, and she was able to benefit from that. But back to the story, once I got to high school, I worked extremely hard in football. Was able to get a scholarship by my sophomore year. When I graduated from high school, my Uber ride was over. I could have got out and walked, but I caught the next Uber, and I went to Purdue University. I played football there. And then when that closed, I found a great company for a Fortune 100. I worked for a Fortune 100 company. Found a great career, making great money, doing great things, something that aligned to what I was good at. Kept transitioning to a new Uber. Why didn't I stay on the same Uber the entire time? Because at some point, that Uber ride will cost you too much. I don't think you understand what I mean there. That Uber ride will cost you too much. Maybe not money, but time. The quicker you can bridge the gap, you can close the gap, and you can transition to the next thing, the more productive and the further you'll be. Separation isn't that hard. It just comes down to you being able to say, you know what? I'm going to put forth the effort that I know my opponent or my competitor is going to stop at. And then once I get there, I'm going to get past that threshold and I'm going to ascend. And if you have that mindset and you actually hold yourself accountable and have that integrity, it's easy. But I'm giving substance. I was actually watching a YouTube video earlier, and there's no substance. It's just people talking. But appreciate the time. Again, I'm out. Peace.